Hello there and welcome to a brief promotion of a new children's book which I have written. Now whether or not this particular video is child appropriate, it doesn't matter, as this story, The Four Friends' Birthday, is scheduled for release on the 23rd of May 2025, which by the time this video is out, or by the time you're watching it, is probably already out, but hey ho. But be sure to get yourself a copy if you're a fan of slice of life content or even media from the 90s or early 2000s. This story is aimed for young audiences, so do keep that in mind. You can pre-order now on Amazon, link provided down below in the description, or you can wait for the story to be in stores or online on other marketplaces. You can even choose between a paperback or Kindle edition. Regardless, I shan't waste any more of your time. This is a brief promotion, so be sure to buy yourself a copy today. Now, onto the video. Hello there and welcome to another edition of Unveiled. This time we're going to have a look at Series 9 Heat E. I hope you enjoy. This was the first heat of the UK Robot Wars to feature two grand finalists from the previous series in the same heat, featuring the grand champion and runners-up Apollo and Carbide respectively. This is also the first time ever that a reigning champion loses in the heats of a main championship. Irrespective of whether Coyote is treated as a newcomer due to Jamie McHarg never captaining his own robot, this heat featured by far the most newcomers compared to the other four, with 6 to 5 new teams. In terms of filming order, this was treated as the first heat of the series, suggesting that the decision to move it into slot E was made at a later point. Two robots from the Glasgow Clyde College were at one stage intended to compete in this heat, with both even being in the lineup at the same time momentarily. Clyde Built filled in after one robot dropped out, but was later withdrawn itself after blowing a fuse, while Rusty was also replaced Crackers and Smash, which had moved to the next battle because Point Blank's withdrawal. Glitterbomb was originally meant to fight in this heat, but was forced to pull out, with the vehicle breakdown that caused Team Glitterbomb to spend 7 hours on the motorway, the catalyst behind the team being unable to have Glitterbomb inside the weight limit by the time of its first safety check. As a result, Glitterbomb finished the series as an unused reserve. By having the weapons of both its segments removed before its head-to-head match against Carbide, Krakens and Smash became the first robot to fight despite reportedly being disqualified for breaching the active weapon rule. Though Team Conquer were informed about this and their potential disqualification by the production crew upon entering the arena, Team Carbide were content with fighting only their weaponless Krakens and Smash, thus allowing their aforementioned battle to take place. Miss Nightshade was first unofficially revealed on the 3rd of December 2016 through a tweet from Professor Noel Sharkey, who was supporting the presence of female engineers on the team. Miss Nightshade and Jellyfish were the final two robots to use lead-acid batteries as a power source on Robot Wars. Trolley Rage's wheels were covered in bike tyre for extra grip, and the team brought spare tread, which was eventually used by Arena Cleaner. Both Trolley Rage and Rusty do not have official images on the Robot Wars website. In Trolley Rage's case, this is because the team had to wait an unexpectedly long time for their interview with Dara O'Brien to be filmed, and the photographer was only booked to stay on site for a limited schedule. Rusty is basically just a repainted Ceros. Rusty is one of only two robots in Series 9 that didn't have clips of their VT shown in their introduction. This may be due to them being a reserve and not being an intended competitor. The other robot to not have VT clips shown is Megamouse, who also appears in this heat. However, Apex also didn't use any clips outside of the filming studio. The Rusty team has not only withdrawn with Clyde Build, but also in Series 8 with a similarly designed spinner called Pop. Megamouse's chassis is actually Velociraptor's chassis from the classic era. Megamouse had attempted to qualify for both Series 8 and 10, but it did not qualify in either of these seasons. Team Tilly, who controlled Megamouse, attempted to qualify in Series 10 with Dizzy Tilly, which would eventually appear in the Chinese show Clash Bots. Coyote is the only robot in Series 9 to have never had its weapon read out by the announcer. Instead, the robot's introduction stated where the robot came from, which would be repeated as the teams entered the arena. Coyote's two linear acculators started life as off-the-shelf Duff Norton products. They passed through various different owners over the years, notably being used by Ed Hoppett's featherweight Force X, before eventually being sold to Jamie McHarg by Matthew Perman in 2016. Callum Jones of Coyote had previously entered the pilot Reaper, a new version of the Grim Reaper. At 11,000 RPM, Smash's drum had the fastest rotational speed of any spinning weapon in the history of the show, breaking the 9,200 RPM record set by Pulsar. Crackers and Smash had qualified for Series 8, but withdrew. Ironically, their VT showing the featherweight conker smashing an old computer monitor is shown in Heat A. They were replaced in the episode with TR2, as they were going to appear in Heat C. Carbide shared a much publicised rivalry with Apollo during Series 9, with the Series 8 Grand Final rematch dominating the marketing for the show. Apollo and Carbide are one of 4 occurrences where 2 teams fought 5 times during the show's run, alongside Razor and Tornado, Firestorm and Panic Attack, and Ironside 3 and Pulsar. Carbide was the 3rd robot in Series 9 to go undefeated in the head-to-head rounds without requiring a judge's decision, alongside Aftershock and Eruption. Apollo's VT for Series 9 was filmed at Pontin's Pristane. And that is it for today. Series 9 Heat E is, in my opinion, the best heat in Series 9. The reason why is because it's pretty much all-out action. The problem with Heat A, and Heat B for that matter, is the opening melees are really fun. They're really good. And then you get the rest of the episodes and it's really shit. That's the problem. Series 9 really had this, Series 9 in general is a crap series, but Heat A and Heat B in particular suffer from this problem where the opening melees, they're fantastic, they're brutal, they're exciting, they're fun. Whether it's be rapid, flipping jellyfish into the air, or nuts flying out the arena, or Aftershock and Sabretooth just smashing into the opponents. And sure, there are the first head-to-heads, Terahertz being smashed up by Sabretooth, and of course Aftershock, smashing up Rapid. But then after that, it just dips in quality and everything is just very samey and slow and boring, and you're hoping to get to the end of the episode. And Heat B similarly faces a similar problem, except it's much worse because the first melees are great, the first 2 melees, and then the head-to-heads are just the same repetitive, boring shit. It's just not very exciting at all. Heat E, on the other hand, at least tries to be different and varied. Carbide versus Apollo, Apollo gets knocked out first, and you get this anticipation of whether or not Carbide, or even Apollo for that matter, will actually survive the rest of the heat, because maybe Apollo might fix itself and flip Carbide out, and you get that sort of excitement. Not only that, but Crackers, Smash and Coyote are very fun robots to play around with at the same time. It at least has something going for it, and at least the melee again are fantastic. Now, this episode, it has a great set of robots, in my opinion, a great range, diverse range. You got robots like Mega Mouse, which I'm so glad to see in the series. I love Mega Mouse in live events, so it's so great to see them here, and I think a lot of people also felt the same way. Coyote, I've already mentioned, I love the look of it. It's a very old-fashioned looking robot, but I love it. Brilliantly designed as well. But then you get ones like Rusty, which of course is Seros, and I know some people get a lot of flack because it was Seros but painted and wasn't very good. I still think it's very appealing in its own right. Trolley Rage, another very simple robot, but it's fun to watch, and Crackers Smash, of course. And then you got Miss Nightshade, which is quite possibly one of the worst robots ever made. And I gotta be honest, anytime a show or anything does the thing where trying to say girl power and all that, and then it just gets humiliated, I just think to myself, why bother doing that stupid message in the first place? If you're gonna do a message like that, at least do it with a robot that has actually been tested. This robot wasn't even tested. It wasn't even tested, and it wasn't even it was literally built for the sake of adding more women to the show. That was a behind the scenes fact, which of course I left out, but I wanted to say for this review, it was literally built for that. I detest forcing diversity for the sake of diversity without any actual clear indication, and that Miss Nightshade is a clear fucking example of that. And it just goes to show that they didn't really care about actual engineers, actual robotics, actual robot builders. They just wanted to shoehorn in a robot for the sake of, we need to up the boob count, so to speak. That's how Comedy Central would have put it with BattleBots, but it does feel that way, and it just, for me, that's more insulting. That is absolutely insulting, because there are so many robots out there that were built with care, with careful consideration, with actual love, and then you get a robot like that, which has just literally been made for the sake of ticking a box. And that fucked me off more than anything. But overall, this is still a fantastic episode. You know, it's rant aside, this is still a fantastic episode. Still a good episode. The best heat, in my opinion, and certainly the most exciting, most explosive, and most destructive for that matter. However, I will also say I do not like the fact that they have the champion and the runners-up in the same heat. That is stupid. Like, there's a good example why they needed more heats, or at least a seeding system, because that was just ridiculous, and I hate it in Series 10 as well. So let's have a look at what we're going to get next time around. So next time around we get Extreme 1 Episode 12. Now this one is a childhood favourite of mine, but I will contest it isn't the strongest episode in the world. But it still has some good moments here and there. So I am a little bit looking forward to it because it does have a lot of robots in it as well. So we'll see you when we get there. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time.